The last one we spoke about interfaces. So the next one we're gonna talk about. The next one is actually now the one you're watching now. Microphones, mics. So welcome to Chris Try To Talk. Yeah, it's not a typo. It's literally Try To Talk. So I can say that my mom's Chinese. Chill. In the last video I spoke about interfaces. Now the next one I'm going to talk about microphones, and again I'm going to keep it very basic, very simple. We're going to talk about 3 types of microphone, 2 types of microphone that I have in hand, dynamic and condensers. Now there are other types of mics. There's only 4 I can think that really matters: the dynamic, the condensers, the tube, and the ribbons. Now tube and ribbons take up a lot more power, I would say. So you can't just use I wouldn't recommend just using your interface, plugging the tube or ribbon mics in, because even though they're supposed to sound good, with the normal interface there's just not much energy and power to crank it up. So that's why I have in preamps. So this is my preamp. It's a Focusrite ISA1. Got it from SMX as well, as I do all my gears. So if I'm using like really vintage mics like ribbon and tubes, they all go through this. Then it goes to my interface, and actually I use it for all my inputs, including guitar lines and everything. So this is an SM57. Looks like a cigar, but it's not. It's a dynamic mic. Been around since the 70s, I think. Very well used throughout the 80s. It's a very hardcore mic lah. I wouldn't say it sounds good, but it's good for specific things. Like most popular is guitar amps, brass instruments, drums, very percussive, quick transient stuff. This mic is good for. Sound wise, it's quite limited. I would say it's got a good high mid range. That's about it. But I do use it for backing vocals. I have used it for vocals where it's needed, where it fits the song, where you want a thin vocal, not too body-ish vocals. Yeah, this mic comes into hand. So it's very straightforward. You can drop it and it won't do anything, it won't spoil or anything. The reason we got sellotapes here, I got super paranoid. I think I put the sellotape on like in 2004 because it was rattling under the drums, and I think it was just the drums, it wasn't even the mic, but I just taped it up anyway, so you don't need the tape. It doesn't do anything. That's just why the tape is there. So yeah, this is dynamic mic. Second hand, I think you can get it around like 300-400 ringgit, I think. I'm not sure. I haven't had a need to buy one. This was from Ram. Hey Roger, got your mic with me. And the other one I like to use a lot is also a condenser, but it's not your typical large diaphragm. It's called a pencil mic as well, because it looks like a pencil, but it looks like a cigar as well. And this is a condenser. It's a Bayer Dynamic Opus. Now, I haven't recorded strings a lot. If I do, I tend to use large diaphragms more than pencil mics, just because for me it captures more the dynamic range. Now this is good for a lot of mids and above. So like hi-hats, I use this a lot on hi-hats. When I was recording drums at Ram, this was the mic for the hi-hat. And I've used it on saxophones, I've used it on backing vocals as well. And this are buddies. If I'm miking up a cabinet, I would use these 2 mics together. Now the tip with this, when you're doing 2 mics, is to remember that these are just the covers. Not even the capsules. These are just protecting the diaphragm and the capsules. So what you need to look at is where the diaphragm is. The diaphragm is the actual part of the mic that starts where the sound actually goes in. So this is all the protective layer. So what you have to do is to match up the diaphragms so you don't get out of phase, or you don't get weird sounding wishy-washy sounds which makes you think the mic sucks. But actually no. So why I use this one has more of a grittier sound. This one has a bit more of a fuller sound compared to this. So when you put these 2 together, you got like amazing sound. Make it sound simple, right? Now the other mic which everybody has, not everybody has lah, people think they should have. Now it's a legendary mic, yes. It's German, it's Neumann. The Neumann U87. I don't think that's how Germans sound. So the Neumann U87 is a legendary mic. It's been used since, I don't know, since whenever lah. And I don't like it. Now people say this is the vocal mic to use for recording studios. It is the mic. it just doesn't work for me. Again, it's a bit, there's a notch at 5k, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 5 kilohertz frequency. So it's good for certain vocals, not every vocals, because I like vocals that I can shape when I'm mixing, not where I am stuck with something and I can't suddenly add lows, or I can't do this and that. Not that you can't, I rather not artificially add, because it just not my thing. So this one was good for very niche, not niche, like it's very picky with vocals. Yeah, Palencia on this mic was magic. All you had to do was add compression, reverb, and you were done. I think we did Esther Apollina's Chin, a few songs with this. I think Genie for Liar Liar, I think, did we use this? Can't remember. But when it comes to rock vocals, rap or metal stuff, this is not the mic I reach for recording vocals. I started working in RAM in 2004 and I used this mic. I was hyped because it's Neumann U87. Who doesn't want to use this? So when I tried it, I was disappointed by how it sounded. But then when we had our preamps, like the IS-A1, it worked better. So I would say it could be the right mic if you have the right preamps, the right output gears, the right compressors, right EQs. Yes. But on its own, it's not my go-to mic at all. Oh yeah, Roger, the mic's with me. So what I do as my all-around mic and everything I use for it is this one. The SE Electronics SE2200A Mark II. This mic is a large diaphragm, somewhat like the Neumann, except it's black. Multi-pattern, which means you have cardioid, figure eights, omni, yeah. And I got it from SMX as well. It's quite cheap. I think it's below 1,500 ringgit. So give them a shout out. You can get this mic. And the mic's not here, it's with Hazron at Sound Lab Studios. So this is the mic I use for most of my stuff ever since I got it in, can't remember when I got it, was it 2010? So all the vocals since then has been done on this. Everything from Ben Zulu's Rapper 1 Minute, some of Jonathan's stuff, the Story Ends Raya But Maya. Oh man, I can't remember. Or Jin Hackman had it for a while. It was in his studio in KL. So Jin Hackman's stuff was done on that. It's a good mic. I prefer it much more better than the Neumann because of the the frequency range. It's a bit more flatter, and it's a bit more modern sounding for what people are listening to nowadays. So it matches very much easier with your interfaces and stuff. You don't have to drive it so hard, increase the gain too much until you hear the boominess in the rooms and all that. So vintage mics, I would say, yes, they are legendary, but they're not a necessity to have. Like, you do not need to have this. These mics are so dependent on the room, your hardware, your interfaces, your preamps, EQs, comps, and all that to make it sound what it should sound like. The modern ones are easier, just almost plug and play. But if you ask me to choose between these two, I'll choose this any other day. So yeah, you can ask me more stuff about mics. I will tell you, mics are not, there is no one mic for everything though. Like, I'll dig out the Neumann when it's needed. I'll use the SE most of the time because it's more generally accepting of vocals. But the most important thing, if you are hunting for mics, is look at the frequency response chart of all the mics that you're looking at and see what works best for you in your condition and your room. Chris, try to talk anything. Holla. Peace, guys.